Welcome to the Robinhood Capitalist. I'm your host, DJ Flores. With me, as always, my trusted coach and advisor and mentor, the good Coach Stacey B. What's up, Coach?
What's happening? I never know exactly what you're going to say about me, so that's always
Listen,
exciting. It's like opening a new present every day when we get together.
well, you're always going to be my coach and mentor now, obviously, because you have to. You're the one who kind of slows me down a little bit. Um, But speaking of slowing down, man, our guest on Tuesday, she was fire. She brought the energy. I'm so thank you for doing that, Reena. It was amazing. Just the information you brought, the episode we're going to be able to unpack, and even the great advice on cast magic. Let me tell you all, if you're new to this world, to this space, cast magic, you need to check it out. Um, but we'll get deeper into that. Coach, you got anything before we get this bad boy started?
Man, I think the absolute best thing about having Rena on, it was so easy to talk to her, but I think I just want to spend a weekend just hearing stories of what it was like transporting those people around to and from the Springer show. There's got to be more stories within that story that could just blow us away if we took the time.
I love that you said that because I thought the same thing. I've already warned her. I'm like, Rena, I'm gonna have you on as many times as we can because I guarantee you have the most amazing stories from the world that she's been in and kind of lived in. But
Looking
uh,
back through what we did, I was like, man, I kept asking questions that weren't really on the topic we were supposed to be going on, but it was just so interesting getting started the way she did, and that story was great.
it was, and Rena is great. And thank you, Rena, again. Let's get this started.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
All right, everybody. Like our intro music says, don't stop until it's beautiful. That's really what we want. We want everybody to know that if your heart is still beating, if you woke up this morning, there is a reason you woke up. And we want to help you find that reason. Um, Part of the episode on Tuesday, some of the key topics from Cast Magic. Thank you again, Reena. Cast Magic, amazing, y'all. I will share the website, and I'll share Reena's link. Like, just go to it, check it out. If you're in the space at all, check it out. It really is amazing, and will make your life a lot easier. And some of the key topics and bullets they pulled from our episode on Tuesday was getting started in the industry, in the entertainment industry. So Rena's story of Jerry Springer and how that led from that to then having to reinvent herself in the music program and the work it took to getting into the music program she was trying to get into. Then personal professional development, obviously one of our strong key points here on the Robinhood Capitalist is always the personal and professional development because that is in the end what controls our environment and everything around us is us is who we are. Ooh, good morning. Hey,
Yeah, from Toronto,
Toronto. Yes, good morning, Ryan. That's
and and it's not just hazy in Toronto; it's hazy all the way down here in North Carolina too. It's amazing what's going on with these fires.
it is amazing, and it's crazy here too in Virginia Beach. So it's been a cloudy mess, but
Yeah, so you opened with with Rena's how she started, and we take a lot of things we talk about back to mindset, but just think of her mindset starting out as an intern. A lot of folks would have just seen that as it's just something to do, it's something to get by. Maybe I'll learn something, but she was very persistent and intentional, and made the connections required to let that one little stepping stone that most people like just waste. And she turned that one opportunity into the life that she's able to live now. So the mindset to do that that's powerful.
Mindset is our mind controls everything. Our mind literally controls everything that we do. And yeah, without her deep diving emergence into everything that she did and wanting to learn, I think that's really what it came down to, was her passion for what she does, um, and just her, like you said, her intention to really just wanting to, what is next and what do I need to learn next to be this better version of what I'm trying to be. And she talked about
Yeah.
that as well, finding that target, that person to kind of emulate or copy, who's given the road to success. And we talked about that a lot here too.
Yeah, and then you combine that with her fearlessness to actually try the things, because a lot of us think about the next step, and we get these visions of something better, but we let fear take over, and we're not willing to take the step. So she actually saw it and took action and grew, and that's just amazing. It was a lot of fun getting to talk to her.
It was she again, and in typical Reena fashion, I shared you this before the show, but to all you who didn't get to share this to, so just like I mentioned on the show on Tuesday, literally we finished the show, and I think I got three more introductions to amazing people that Reena knows. Reena, it really is, she lives out, and I want to dive deeper into this, and so I'm glad we kind of transition right into that. But the giving, the go-giver mentality, we plugged Bob, obviously amazing idea and concept, but I think I I truly believe in the game of life, in the secret of the universe. I think that uh, every successful person I've ever heard talk, from listening to their YouTube videos or their books or whatever they do. John talked about it a lot, with writing a letter to his parents twice, thanking them, and then even mentioning quite a few times about wanting to outgive his parents. And I think that is a secret that I think has helped with Rena, and also I kind of latched onto myself. I always want, and I think there's a lot of you out there who might be listening to this today that might change your idea of this. But what it changed for me was, I always thought, well, man, it would be nice once I have the money or the connections or have all of these things, I could start giving like these people are. I could give, give, give. Once I have that, man, I want to get there so I could, but you can actually give before you even get there. And that's where I think, like, at least I told Maggie, my wife, I almost feel like I found the cheat code to the game of life, because it's once you just focus on giving, and that literally is your intention and everything. Well, how can, in this interaction with this person, can I give more than I'm going to get from them? And if you literally take that in every interaction, it's almost like the universe, even if you just keep giving, 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 it's almost like the universe says, okay, you've done that. Here comes this magical, like, again, coincidence that we all talk about, but it's not. It's you doing what she did. It's you doing what she does regularly. I mean, it's the secret to, I think, what makes Reena so successful in what she's done through Jerry Springer, through Nanny 911, through her world of that Hollywood world, to, now Houston doing the same thing with Cool FM. Is she gives, and she's always giving first. I mean, even the energy she gave on the show was crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And there's another G word in there that she was living too. So it was giving and gratitude, and being thankful along the way, and thankful for the opportunity to give, and thankful for the people that come by. When you're living in that mindset of gratitude, I think it does make it somewhat easier to look at someone with the giving attitude, as opposed to what can I get from this interaction that I'm about to have. But the way she's connecting you with people for our entrepreneurial listeners and folks that are coming to us, because we do tend to talk about franchising and other entrepreneurial topics. This idea of building entrepreneurial connections and the way that she is connecting people, this is what you want to become a part of, and this is what you want to start getting better at. And I admitted to DJ before we started that this is something that I have to work on. It's just networking and talking and following up with people. The whole thing is just not my natural thing. I'm a natural talker. I'm a natural on stage kind of a talker. I'm not a natural networker, and so it's much more difficult. I'm sure she has worked on it, because it is a learnable skill, and it's one that I think together we can all work on and get better.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Coach, because I agree. I think I think we took the test, so we're gonna highlight some little preview for next week. But we both took the 5 voice test that I keep plugging for next week. And we're both the same exact voices: connector, creative nurturer. And I think that is probably, so I'm not and never was really a natural networker either. I'm the one hiding it. I go to network events. I was typically the one hiding in the corner, hoping somebody, like, I noticed somebody or knew somebody
Yeah.
from something. Was never willing to just go up. And actually, it's funny. My daughter would always, so shout out Abby, but she would always say, "Hi, welcome, nice to meet you. I'm David Flores," and she would sit, like, pretend like that was me, because she thought, because of what I listened to, that's what I would do. But I've never been that way, to just go up and naturally be able to just talk to some stranger, until, honestly, it was doing the first podcast here with Dan, and then really getting out of my element and kind of forcing myself to network and reach out to people to get as potential guest for the show and stuff. Then I was like, oh, okay, well, talking to these people, like, we're really able to connect, and there's some powerful things, like, and some magic's being happening. Like, I don't even know how this is happening, but, like, I just talked to this person, and here you go. And so, like, it just became, now for me, I mean, I came to Virginia Beach, and I feel like I'm in 2 different worlds. I mean, in Ohio, I feel like I know more influential or different people in Virginia Beach than I knew in Ohio, and I lived in Ohio my whole life.
You jumped in with both feet when you got here.
Yeah,
and started networking. But I'm like you at those networking events. The test says I'm a natural connector, but at the events, I'm a natural eater. I'll go straight to the food, and that's get the nutrition I can from the good food. And
well, we're connected there too. Then, obviously, ask Maggie. You'll always find me at the, if there's little finger foods, forget it. I'm just breaking everything that I just did to do right, because, man. Yeah, I'm there too. I'm there at the food.
So the skill that we've talked about, and the one that I'm going to work on getting into my awareness, is that when I do meet someone like Reena, my first thought should be, okay, who does she know that I should know, and who do I know that she should know, so that we can start building those connections. And so those are 2 of the questions that I'm going to work to keep in my awareness as I meet people going forward after having this discussion.
I like that you said that. I think even deeper than that, what I started to do, and again, it was when I was looking for guests on the show, and it's kind of a John Hewitt thing, but he's willing to talk to anybody. It doesn't even matter, like, if they're intriguing at all, he will talk to them to see if there's anything there at all. And that's one thing that I found, even if there's no mutual way to collaborate, no mutual way to kind of work on something in the future. Reena's one of them. We connected a while back, along with Sia, who you've met. We connected a while back, and it was just not the right timing. But then eventually things kind of just, again, the universe has a weird way of putting those people at the right times, and also just making everything kind of align right. If you're just in that flow, if you're in it, if you're intentional.
Yes,
it really comes down to attention.
Sia was she brought the energy, and she gave a lot too, just in the conversation that we had. So that was also interesting. The when, when you talk, John, and some of those conversations he'll have, one of my favorite compliments that I ever got from him was after a dinner with a whole lot of people, and he likes to keep the conversation going at dinner,
Oh, yeah.
and there was a lot of important people there and that sort of thing, and I just felt honored just to be invited to sit along. But at the end, he just said, "Thank you for being interesting." And then that's all it was said. But I was like, "Oh, that's like the best compliment ever." I don't know exactly what I did. I wish I could bottle it and maybe do it again. I'm not sure how it happened.
That is a great compliment, and thank you for being interesting. Uh, I think the best compliment I've got so far is I've met this crazy guy, and he does this podcast, and I think he said that to you.
Yep, and I want to connect you. So again, that was an entrepreneurial connection that I mean, it's improved my life. This has been so much fun, and this is what we can do. So John and you were both very much givers to put this thing together and get this working, because this is just awesome.
Oh, and I agree, and thank you for saying that. But yeah, I agree. Your wisdom, your experience in this, it was like John knew I needed my coach with me. It was going to be crazy if it didn't. But that's again where I'll tell you it's the just that being willing to talk, have that conversation, even if John sometimes will. Might schedule a 15-minute conversation, but if it's not going anywhere, it might last 5 minutes or 7 minutes, and he's phantoming out. But that's where I think we need to be, and tying back to your point of networking and just being willing to take that conversation is not really who they know also, but what they might know. I think there's some things everybody knows that we either need to know or they might need to know. But I think I don't I don't believe in coincidence. I truly do. I mean, I truly do believe that now. I do not believe anything is a coincidence. I think everything does happen for a reason. And the quicker that we can associate that to finding that pattern, that why is this happening right now type thing, and we can associate that to something, maybe a pattern, maybe a trend, maybe there's something there that's telling us like, hey, in game of life, or think of a game. It's you're close to the checkpoint. Okay, the next boss is coming. That means, okay, if I beat this boss, the checkpoint's after that, so I'm safe. Well, I got to make it through this. What is that roadblock? And she had those in her story, in her journey. I mean, she had those. The instant fame success, like she talked about with Jerry Springer. I mean, to go from being a 20-something intern to quickly working her way up, like she said, to the again, I really didn't
Jumping to the next step without really knowing what the next step was going to lead. I mean, she jumped off the cliff and then built those wings on the way down.
jump, and she hit rocks and bricks and everything you can along the way down until you build those wings, and you find those skills, and that's really what the game of life is about. And that's what we're trying to really connect everybody to is that. I think if we can show people that just from little conversations like you talked about, than connecting to other people. That's in the end what we're trying to do with everybody here. So we are trying to build a community here to really just be able to mastermind, share this advice, share this wisdom, share this guidance with our guest. Again, we're learning amazing things from our guest. We're not here just to teach; we're here to learn too. Again, like John Hewitt said, and I mentioned it in once I stop learning, dig a hole 6 feet and bury me in it, because game over. Like once there's nothing left for me to learn, which that's impossible. There's always going to be. Um, this game isn't fun anymore, and that's what I think life really is just learn. What can you learn? What can you learn next? What is the next skill? What is the next little thing? What's the next little habit? What's the next little anything that just sharpens you, and even now connecting with others. Reena went with that, and that was one of the clips I shared, was Reena talking about connecting with others, even if it's not reading a book, but just who you talk to and who you surround yourself with. Talk about with your journey, your experience, Coach, in with Liberty, and now what you're doing with Focal Point. And I know there was even some deeper tie to why you went with Focal Point, was because of that community, those people there to help. Talk about like why that is so crucial and why Reena brought that up, why we talk about that so much, about your environment, people who are surrounding, and what those people can do to you for you as well.
Yeah, so the whenever you're on a plan for growth, there's a lot of things that we want to take into account, but environment is really important. And the world around us is absolutely not working in our favor, because most of the messaging we get is negative, and we're bombarded with thousands of these negative messages every day. They're coming from our phone, they're coming from our watches, they're coming from TV, whatever else, computer, whatever we're looking at. And so it's really hard to break through that noise. And so the environment you put yourself in, we talked about the word intentionality, and just being very intentional with what we listen to. And so pick the voice. And you mentioned focal point. The reason, because I could have done what I'm doing now without joining another franchise.
Yep.
I have the background that I could have gone on my own. But one thing about a franchise is I get the system to follow. I don't have to create things. I can follow a proven system. I get the mentorship. I spent, like, when we were first launched the podcast, I was in a group of 100 other focal point coaches, just networking and learning and growing together. And that environment that allows you to grow. And so part of creating your environment that's going to allow you to grow is just to be very, very careful with what you keep around you. The things that you see. Matter of fact, I was on a call yesterday with another group of coaches. We were learning and growing together. And, we were talking about having our goals clearly where we can see them in front of us in our workspace as we're thinking and working with others. We were talking about that environment that we put ourselves in, and our real topic, ironically enough, was about how to become a better networker as we're working to grow our business as entrepreneurs. But what I loved about Focal Point was, number one, the culture was just great. I love the culture. What I most loved about Liberty was growing it from an unknown brand to over 4,000 locations. That growth was really fun. And so I was looking for an emerging brand, which Focal Point is. We're experiencing really great growth right now. But being a part of something, it's what everybody wants in life. You want to feel like you belong. You want to feel like what you're doing matters, and you want to feel like you have a great. No one of us is better or greater than all of us. We want a shared purpose that we can live toward. And so, as long as I feel like I belong, I'm respected, and what I'm doing makes a difference, I'm a pretty happy guy. And that was a big reason. So a proven system where I didn't have to try to figure out things on my own, mentors that helped me all along the way, and then an environment that is conducive to my growth. One of the awards that we give out for coaches every year is the Kaizen Award. And at Liberty, we gave out every year the Most Improved Award. But Kaizen is the Japanese term for constant and never-ending improvement. And that's the philosophy I've tried to live by for a very long time now. Probably was introduced to it by John Maxwell in the book, the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I'm a founding partner on the John Maxwell team for coaching and training too. And so when we started, that was one of the first books we dug into was the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, and how important a personal and professional plan for growth really is, and how difficult it is when you get stuck, and the keys to pulling out of it. So it's been a great journey, but it definitely was about environment and surrounding myself with a better network of people. And this has been said a lot of times, but we do become the average of the 5 people with whom we spend the most time. We need to choose wisely.
Yes. I heard Les Brown say that over and over and over and over again in the beginning of 12 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe now, when I started listening to him and Eric Thomas and all of these people, and they're saying that same thing. And I was really, you nailed it with intention. It was once I started to be super intentional with, and it was, again, throwing out another book that really kind of changed it for me. Was It Takes What It Takes, from Trevor Moawad. It really, when I eliminated any negativity that just got me in the wrong mindsets. So removing, he was big on removing country music, removing music that gets you in the wrong mindset, removing, Russell Wilson listens to a lot of Hillsong United, because there's even supposedly a certain frequency or tune, if you believe in that woo stuff like I do. That I mean, there's a it really does just put you in a different kind of vibration, a different mindset, a different feeling.
So we can go to Dr. Lipton and prove that there's some science backing up your woo woo when it comes to the frequencies. So I'm with you on that one.
There and there is you.
It does matter.
No,
It does matter. I've got another screen sitting over here, and that's a screen that I'll keep, kind of inspirational things on a lot of times, but especially during my creative time. So I try to block out a couple hours a day for content creation and to think deeper. And so it's got some inspirational pictures. A lot of times it's places where I've hiked and pictures I've taken myself, but in the backing, it's classical music because there's something about classical music that puts me in a more calm, focused, creative state of mind. So there's something to it, DJ. It's we can everybody can say it's woo all they want. Is there's something to it.
I agree. So you've seen the vibration of the where it changes into I've seen that too, and I was like, hold on, there's something about that.
Yeah.
And then obviously
Well, we know that everything in the universe, even the chair you're sitting in, the desk we're sitting by, at a molecular level, it's all vibrating all the time. Everything operates on a vibrational frequency.
yes, and we're going deep, y'all. So we're going a little deep. We'll pull back. We won't go that deep yet. Although we are going to go a little bit deeper because next week's guest, I'll even plug her, Becky Wolf. I seen shout out Becky. I seen you shared. You were in the studio. You faced your fear. You're doing your thing. We talked a lot about fear, and you're out there doing it. So good. I can't wait to have you on next week. So Tuesday, everybody, she is going to be our guest. She's who introduced me to the wonderful test of five voices and the wonderful world of five voices, and actually, obviously, who Coach took the test for as well. But really, it's I'll tell you, it's deeper, and once you can understand, and that's where these first 14 episodes of this show, guys, and what we do, we really are trying to stay hardcore focused on you, because I really think the game of life, the game, whether it's in the business world or the personal world, professional or personal, it's you. It's you. Like if there's something you're facing that you're not liking, it's you. In the end, you might be able to pinpoint and blame somebody else, but it's you. It really is you. And the game of life is you versus you. And once you can understand not only your voices, but the voices around you and how to work with them, how to interact with them, how to understand why they might be coming at you sideways. And you're like, whoa, why are you? That's where five voices, and even when we get deeper into the Rubik's Cube and that's where it really will tie together and hopefully kind of piece together what Coach talked about with us all being intertwined. I agree with you completely, Coach. I think once we find that right vibration, that right frequency, it seems like things just start connecting, and all of a sudden, it's almost like it changes the frequency from rejecting to magnetic, and all of a sudden, like you're just pulling in these things, and just you don't even know why, and there's those coincidences again, or I like to say, and most people say, you're so deep, but I see them as signs. They're signs. They're signs to me. Any little thing is a sign.
It's not magic. It's just those things are there right now. Your vibrational frequency and awareness isn't in a place where you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just about tuning in to that awareness, to that frequency to see it.
Yes, tune in. What would you advise? Your best advice to tuning into that frequency? What would you say?
Well, again, it's about the environment. It's intentionally listening to good things. It's intentionally finding the voice and the mentor and the voices that are going to pour into your life in a positive way. One of the comments, my son has been helping me cut some of our shows up and then posting out onto some of our channels. And one of the comments that came back, it pretty much listed, 20 of the most horrible things you would hear on the news, and then finished with, and you're telling me I should start with me? And the answer is yes. That's what I'm telling you. You're going to start with you, because you got that stuff. I have no control over what they're doing in Washington right now. I mean, I want us to be a good citizen. I want you to stay involved and vote and do your part, but you can't let the negativity that's out there control. So yeah, start with you. Control your environment, control the things that you're pouring in. So you've got to know yourself good enough to know, what is it that when I'm down picks me up and lifts me and energizes me, because you're going to get down, and that's what we need to know, so I can stay in a better state. You can choose. It's a choice whether we want to believe it or not. We can choose to live like a victor, or we can choose to live like a victim. And I say you wake up every day and intentionally make the better choice. And so it's, what are you listening to? What are you watching? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you reading? I love the reading part of this journey that I've been on, but all of those things matter. It's, what are you intentionally letting stay up here? What Brian Tracy teaches in his law of self-control is that you will become what you think about the most often. And so we have to control those thoughts that are going into our brain. Intention, intention, intention.
So a few things you touched on with that. Intention, I'm glad. Yes, intention is the driving force for everything. If you want better relationships with your friends or family, be intentional with reaching out to them and making it an effort to acknowledge them or acknowledge something they're doing. You want better relationships at work, be intentional with the people you work with, your coworkers, your team. Thank them for the little things. Acknowledge them. Reena, we talked about acknowledgement and encouragement a lot yesterday as well. And that's where that right environment, the right people. Intention is the key, but I think you also touched on something that I think it's a played out phrase, but at the same time it has a very deep meaning. But I think it's one of those phrases that got burned out, so nobody really pays attention to it anymore. And it's control the controllables. And really, the only two things we can control in our whole life, just like they say, John says it, and I think John just said there's another third, a third constant, and I forget what he said, the two, obviously, they say in life is the two things you can count on is death and taxes. Well, the two can.
And he added change.
There you go.
Because
Change.
it's always change.
Yes. So everything's changing. And that's the other constant, is change. But the two things you can control, and the only two things you can control, are your attitude and your effort. Those are the only things that we as a person, we as a human, can possibly control. How we respond to things when they're good, but even more how we respond to things when they're not so good or they're not going good. And what our attitude is going into those things. And that's where, when I say on Mondays, Sundays, if you hate, like you should be like, you should know that feeling. It's in you. I promise you, there is a feeling somewhere that's saying, I don't want to do this. I hate this. This is not fun. I'm miserable. That's not what life's supposed to be. Life is not supposed to be that way. I promise you. That is that attitude. Find
Well,
what changes that attitude.
We do know that life is made up of struggle, right? There's going to be failures.
Yeah.
I think Churchill said that success in life is nothing more than just going from failure to failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm for what you're trying to do. And so we know that we're not saying that it's easy to choose to be a victor every day and to have a better attitude. It's not easy. We're saying it's important. and so we have to surround ourselves with a good supporting cast, and surround ourselves and fill our brains with the good stuff and block out the bad as much as we can.
Yes.
And you talked about tired phrases. I'm full of tired phrases. So I've been around for a while, so I got a lot of those.
There's so many, but again, I think it's people then deep dive, and that's where you talked about the last thing you talked about, which was the environment around you. I think again, I mentioned it a few times, and I try to intentionally mention this a lot about Jim Quick saying that every 48 hours, the amount of content that's produced, or stuff for us to just make us question what's right and what's wrong even more, the same amount of information is put out from the start of humanity to 2003 every 48 hours. So like now you're going to really could take a deep dive into, and it's more the last kind of, and this show is transitioning perfectly. I don't know. The universe is really responding right now. But I got to as I was sitting there working yesterday, got to listen to two of my favorites, and it's funny as I'm starting to connect with and listen to these certain people. I have like people that I connect to, kind of like John. So John is and Simon Sinek. He says, and I even put on my because of Simon. So shout out Simon. But I seen a recent video he did, and they asked, "What do you do?" And he said, "You know what? I'm an optimist." That's all he said. Not a motivational speaker, not a this. I'm an optimist. That's what I am. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I am. Like, but I think it's knowing that everything and just having the confidence that the outlook is always going to be positive in some way, or at least finding the silver lining in some way. And that is an optimist to me, but a pessimist is also there for us. And that's understanding how those two things can actually help each other. And Simon does a good way of explaining that too. I forget where I was even going with that, but if you
well, choosing to live a life of a victor and being the optimist that you are, part of that is just having that belief that we live in abundance. This isn't we can't live with a scarcity mindset. We have to live with an abundance mindset. And so the way I would say that is, when somebody asks you, is your glass half empty or half full, let them know it doesn't matter. I live in a world of faucets. I can fill my glass whenever I want to fill my glass, because this is a world of abundance and opportunity. I just need to understand that and live in a way that helps me take advantage of the abundance.
that is the best. World of faucets. That is the greatest way that I've ever heard it said. Coach, you just blew me away with that one. I don't even know what to say except, guys, hopefully you say that again. Optimist, all you optimists out there that feel like you're crazy, because the pessimists call themselves realist and want to make you believe you're crazy. Um, what Coach just
Yeah,
said is true. It's just a mindset of, if you believe that there's another faucet, there's another opportunity out there, no matter what door shuts, no matter what next thing gets slammed in your face, there's just, oh, well, this didn't work. What's next? And you just,
yeah, my glass might get empty. It might get low on water, but so what? There's more water out there. I just have to be on the move.
uh, that is so good. That is so good. So, some of the quotes that it took, going back to this cast magic, because again, for all of you who are in this space, Reena recommended this right away. Done with the show. She's so giving, like she is. And recommended this.
And before you get too much into this, I'll just go ahead and admit, AI, it amazes me. It intrigues me. I'm just astonished by what it can do, and it frightens me to death. I don't know where it's going to lead. I hope it's good, but it's just absolutely amazing what AI can do now.
Yes, and what Coach is talking about is exactly true. I mean, this program, you literally can drop your YouTube link into this thing, and it will transcript the entire thing. But then also, literally, AI will break down into clips, to quotes, to timestamps, to anything and everything, and it is picking what it thinks is powerful. And let me tell you, I mean, here's some of the quotes that it pulled from Reena, which she had so many great ones. But overcoming rejection and finding success. This was right in the first few minutes of us talking. Her quote was, "I swallowed my pride. I took music lessons. I ended up re-auditioning and getting into the school." That was what she did. She knew what she needed to do. My wife, shout out to Maggie. She's given some love on there, but she was that. She had failed her nursing test like a lot of nurses do in the beginning. It's that world. I did not. I'll tell you, shout out to the nurses. Y'all don't get enough love or gratitude for what y'all have to go through. But like that test, like Maggie, after school, after all of that, she was like, I don't want to, like, no, I'm not doing this again. Like, that was torture. And that was like the resounding kind of sentiment from anybody going through nursing school, was like they kind of like needed to cry on each other's shoulder to community. And if it wasn't for her having the right people that were surrounding her that had went through that same journey, she wouldn't have pushed herself to. She had to deep dive, and again, I'm sorry I'm sharing this, Megs, but it was like a perfect opportunity. But it, just like Rena, she knew, okay, well, this is what I want, but like I need all of this other distraction. It was social media. So I'll tell you, she literally for 6 months, I don't know if it's 6 months or 9 months, and maybe she'll shout it in the chat, but 6 or 9 months, she went off of social media completely. She went off of everything. She deep dove into, I'm going to pass this. She, after taking a break from it, so she literally relearned it herself, studying herself, but was intentional with everything from even removing the distraction of all of the, you mentioned it on the show with Rena, the fake life that people share on social media. And she, that was kind of messing with her at the wrong times. And so she eliminated that to just go at it. And she did it. I mean, she passed, no problem. She killed it. I knew she would. But it was
Idea of
more.
being persistent through adversity is incredibly important for success, because it's very rare that something hits on the first time. So some of the best-selling books ever were rejected dozens and dozens of times before someone published. Greatest movies scripts were rejected over and over before someone accepted and made the movie. And over, the most successful people, you talked Les Brown earlier. I mean, look at the way he started out. There was no
Right.
reason for him to turn out to be the success he turned out to be. And so when you look at success stories, whether it's people or things, you'll find a lot of rejection where persistence was a big part of what led to the breakthrough. So just if the key is having the clarity of that vision to know that we're pursuing the right thing, the thing that we really want.
Yes, yes, that is exactly. I think, and you would probably back me on this, but a lot of these small business owners I work for, a lot of the new businesses I've worked with and helped, they they chose something. It seems like if they chose something because they either knew a little bit about it or their background was in it, but they didn't have the passion for it, when they hit those walls, that's when everything started crumbling down, and it was a quick, like, whoa. But I think that's where the outside world, those voices, those distractions, those noises get us thinking we need this or we want this, when really that's where we need. And that's, I guess we're transitioning perfect into where we're going to transition into next week, into really learning yourself, being self-aware, knowing yourself, knowing what you truly want. Clarity. Tom Bilyeu, again, going back to even that, Tom Bilyeu, Tony Robbins, watch their recent episode, and they're two people that I really loved. And Tom is such a smart guy, but he's a very intellectual guy. And I guarantee you, if he took 5 voices, said, Tom, if you're listening and you haven't taken it, take this test. I promise. I want to know. But I guarantee you, he is a guardian and not a nurturer. But Tony Robbins is a nurturer and not a guardian. But on this episode, that Tony kind of pushed back a little bit into how logical and how just in his brain Tom breaks things down. And once he can tie emotion to it, and that's where Tony talked about, and I think that's where we miss a lot. We're taught as kids, we're taught as uh, growing up, emotion. Oh, this is not. It's not personal. It's not personal. It's just business. It's not this. It's everything's personal. If to the person, like anything that happens to you is going to be personal, and it's okay to take it that way. uh, your emotion is there for you to know. You have to know what feelings you're having and what feelings you're feeling. And emotion is what makes things stick. And that's what Tom and Tony really went back on was, and Tony was like, it's emotion. Once you can connect the emotion to everything else, the logical you're saying, that's when it really sticks. That's when change actually happens. That's when the breakthrough really comes.
And regardless what anybody tells you, every decision we make is made based on emotion and then justified through logic. So whether we want to believe it or not, that's how we choose. But a couple of things that you said, I'm 100% with you on the entrepreneurs who don't have a deep enough why. because life is hard. Starting a business, being an entrepreneur, being an employee. I mean, life is just, it has its ups and downs in general. So we know that.
Yeah.
And if you try something that you've never tried before and you don't know have that deep sense of purpose, when it gets hard, it makes it easier to quit. And so
Mhm.
I think, and that's exactly what I've seen as well. But you also went into the idea that we're going to talk this upcoming week about self discovery and building our own self awareness. When I'm working with someone as a coach, the first place I start with everyone is clarity. I want clarity of self. I want to make sure that if I'm going to help you climb a ladder, I want to make sure we've got it on the right wall, the right building, and we're doing the right thing. And the first step in doing that is getting to know you, and you getting to know you. And so this goes way back. I mean, even over the Temple of Apollo, you know, there was 3 things inscribed. The top thing said, "Know thyself," right? And so this is a core
Yep.
tenet of success: is increasing your self awareness and getting to know who you are. And that's what we're going to help you do next week on Tuesday. So I'm excited for that, because this is in my ballpark now.
I
Oh,
know.
and one other thing here,
Go ahead.
you put a lot of names out there that they can listen to. If anybody's listening and you've never heard or don't know Les Brown, if you can listen to him and hear his laugh and that not make you smile and feel happy, just his laughter, then I don't think I can hang out with you. But just be careful, because even in the personal success industry, there's so many voices out there that it can get overwhelming. Pick 1 or 2 that really connect with you, and that's fine. Don't fall for the shiny objects of this voice and that voice. Just find the ones that really speak to you, and let them be your personal guides. And maybe it works for a year, and then you pick a different voice for a year. But don't get caught up, because it can get overwhelming, even looking for help when you start looking through the videos and things that are out there.
Oh yes, yes it can, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I kind of went to, even my own personal. It was once I started to, and it was the 5 voices. It was a lot of other things, and understanding me and what I like and don't like. Um, but it was just what you said. That's where I start. I listen more to Tony than Tom. I listen more to Rob Dyrdek than Grant Cardone. Because they have different ways that they don't resonate with me. I can't see myself being that way or doing those things, and so you just quickly, like, don't, even if they have something good, you want to connect. And that's what I think we should intentionally do with everybody that we even are constantly, like you said, your 5 around you. Like, you should love everything to a degree, that, like, there should not be any bad juju with those 5, unless that bad whatever it is that you're getting is intentional. Now, I am one who
So what I need,
I like to find people who challenge me. So I am going to have people surrounding me, because I love a challenge. I didn't realize that about myself, but the more challenging it is, it makes me want it more. And that I've realized I have to hone myself back from, well, this sounds really crazy and exciting. Let's try this. And so I've realized that is one of my kind of like strengths, but weaknesses. Um, but it's just knowing you, and that's, we are going to get deeper into that. But I also have a video that I'm going to share, and this is really what I believe. And again, I say believe a lot, because I do believe. Believe is what it takes. Believe in yourself first, believing in your community and who's around you next, and believing. But first off, Reena shared it, and that was God and a higher power of a reason of why you're doing this. But I'm going to share this video. I think it's Earl Nightingale. I think Coach nailed it. And then we're going to deep dive into this. We'll kind of highlight next week's show with Becky, and a little bit of what we're going to go into with the 5 voices. Maybe I'll throw up the 5 voice chart. And in it, whoever is watching this, or if you catch this later, if you can guess or have an idea of what voices, or your 3 voices, you might fall in, or even if you know them in order. And I'll tell you, even if you can nail them and send it in the chat, and you nail your voices, you take the test with Becky, I will pay for your test. If you can nail that you nail your voices in order to what you were, because I nailed myself. I knew exactly what it was. And I encourage you all to really just find out what you are, Because once you can find out what you are and who you are, it's easier to know, one, who you need to be around with, and two, how to work with those who might not be the same voices. But here's Earl Nightingale, and then let's deep dive into this for the last 10 minutes, and we'll finish this up.
Only man has the godlike power to make his surroundings change to fit him. Because his environment will change as he changes. A man's environment is a merciless mirror of him as a human being. And if he thinks his environment can stand a little improvement, all he has to do is improve, and his environment will improve to reflect the changing man.
Now, obviously, old school, it says man a lot, but that's human. That's any man, woman, kid, child, anybody, any human is what he's talking about. And I will tell you, I believe that to my core. If there is something you don't like in your environment, it's you. There's something in you that your environment is saying that you need to fix. I really believe our environment is, like he says, and there was that powerful statement he said about merciless mirror. Our environment
Merciless Mary.
is a merciless mirror of ourself. I think, and that's why I chose that out of that whole video. It's a 10-minute video, amazing video with a few other really amazing people in there. But that section, I chose that because that merciless mirror, I believe, is the secret of life. That is the secret of life, the game of life, and why we do feel so intertwined is because that is just, again, if you can change your mindset, if you can create your mindset to change that life is a game, that what you're experiencing is just again, another test. So each day is a test. What is the test that I'm facing now? Well, wake up and you got a new test. Every 24 hours is a new blank canvas and a new test to write your story how you choose. That's the amazing thing. We're the only creature, and that's why I think it's stated that way. And he says godlike. We're made in godlike, and they even the older motivational guys, the older speakers talk about being godlike. Dr. Wayne Dyer talks a lot about that. And it's because we have the ability to choose. And because of that one thing alone, our choices, we talked about a lot, can either take us toward our goal or away from our goal. But it's first having the clarity. What is that goal? What do I actually want? What am I? Who am I? And what am I chasing? And then why? And when you can find out what is your purpose, what is your going, and why,
And what am I willing to give up to get there? Because there will be
sacrifice.
sacrifices.
Yes. You want to deep dive into that? If you want to finish up with that, and then I'll kind of throw up the 5 voices and highlight Becky, and then we'll wrap up.
Well, I think that quote is, or that clip is amazing. It's just so true, and we are creative beings, but we don't take the time to do the hard work of knowing ourselves and gaining the clarity and really going for the next thing and reaching our potential. Because there's no way we'll ever be able to reach our potential if we don't do the hard work of becoming aware of self and who we are. And so much of who we are is designed long before our conscious minds are aware of it. It's designed from ages 0 to probably 6 or 7, and then those things are hardwired. And so the way we react to stimuli, it's automatic. Our subconscious is controlling 95% of what we're doing through a day, and we have to dig just a little bit deeper to know ourselves enough to know what does motivate me. What do I really want? Where should I really be headed? With whom should I spend my time? And all these different things. If you really want to get to a next level, knowing yourself and then intentionally controlling that environment are 2 of the really, really important steps to get started.
Yes. And I love that you talked about the subconscious, because in that video, they talk a lot about that. So the video, I'll share it in the link, but again, I think it's 10 or 12 minutes long. There's a few different people, Earl Nightingale, Alan Watts, Jim Rohn. There's a few people. But
my dad had Earl Nightingale cassette tapes way back when, and when I was a kid. So that's a voice that takes me back.
I think in the movie The Founder, in the beginning, Ray Kroc is listening to it on his record player, in his hotel room. But that's how powerful this stuff is, y'all. It's again, these are just, you want to be successful. There's somebody doing it, just copy them. Reena gave find what they're doing, copy it, and tweak it to fit yourself a little bit better, and then little minor improvements. And that's really the key to any, somebody's doing something, you can learn it. But subconscious, you also in that video, I think the programming, and we're going to talk a lot more about that next week, but you said from 0 to 6, 0 to 7. Dr. Bruce Lipton thing, again, I believe that completely. And I think that's really the way to break down yourself and learning your voices, is learning, well, why are these things happening? And most of the time, if you trace back to the 0 to 7, it's whatever your life, again, you weren't involved in it, but because it was your environment, and we're learning so much. In that video, they talk about not only, obviously, are we programmed, but every single limiting belief that we have learned or heard from, basically, Dr. Bruce says 8 months in the womb, but so from 9 months on, but if say birth to 7, every single limiting belief is our subconscious. That every single one is stuck in our subconscious, and it is going to tell us, no, you can't do that because somebody else told you they can't do that, or they couldn't do that, or they've never done it, or they've never even tried it. But they're all stuck there.
And I totally believe it begins in vitro with whatever the mom's experiencing. It's imprinting before birth. I 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah. And so you have to work through those. And that's what we're going to try with. Again, we really are going to next week deep dive into self-awareness, kind of just learning yourself, understanding why you may or may not do certain things, why you enjoy certain things and don't like others. And I'll show you that with, throw this up as we talk about this and talk about Becky. But this is what we're going to really highlight next week, is the 5 voices. And these are the 5 voices. So there's nurturer, there's creative, there's guardian, there's connector, and there's pioneer. Obviously, shout out to Giant. And if I love their idea of their logo, if you see little I, because that's what, again, everybody should be little I, team. We're team. The more you realize we're a group of people, a community, a team, whether it's at work, it's at home, it's in your community, in your neighborhood, it's in your community, in your city, we're all tied together and we all affect how we live. And that's why it's a little I believe. I don't know. Also, I love that it's an ant, because we are all little ants in the end. But anyways, so nurture is, so the 2 main ones that you see, and you can see by the population. Nurture is 43%, guardian 30%. My opinion on those, again, this is just my opinion. We share a lot of opinions. It's a great thing about doing this. If you have a lot of opinions, do a podcast. You can share all of them then. But the reason I believe this is nurturer is your optimist. They're the ones that see anything that's going on, good or bad, that it could be potentially good in the future. It's just seeing the future with a positive outcome. Guardian is going to be your foundation. They are your pessimist, is what I call them, or they like to call themselves realist. But they are your blind spot finder, and that's why they are guardian. I think it's cleverly named because they are there to protect you. In the end, that's the part of the brain that is still looking for the saber-toothed tiger, even though we have no saber-toothed tigers. We have nothing to fear. So the world has created the government and did this and that and all these other things that sound crazy and scary to just get us stuck.
We still have those saber-toothed tigers. They're just much more subtle, and they kill us over a longer period of time.
Yeah, we'll deep dive. I like that you plugged that. We'll deep dive. We won't even go into that. We'll deep dive into that because I like you said that. And then you see the mix of what makes us unique, I think, or what makes us is the creative, which is only 9%, connector, which is 11%, and then our pioneers, which is 7%. So again, looking at those, if you think you can nail all 3 voices, take the test. We'll put it out there, and share. If you share before, please let me know what voices you think you might be or you are. I'm obsessed with this. I think it really is a secret to this. It's actually what allowed me to connect the dots to my secret of life. I believe is in this. I think each color represents every single one of those voices. White is God because there has to be something above us all. Guardian is our foundation, which is on the bottom. But um, little snap of that to give you a little peek of what's to come next week. But Coach, any final thoughts before we close this out?
All discussions about life being in the Rubik's Cube are protected, copyrighted, and everything else. That's property of DJ Flores.
Thanks for that, Coach. If y'all want to steal it, steal it. But I really just want people to know that I truly believe life is the Matrix in a lot of ways. It's a bunch of zeros and ones. It's a patterns. This is just an experience for us to learn as much as we possibly can, to hopefully take it on to where we live a longer, more meaningful life. And that's why we want to, and our goal really is. And Mags, I know you don't like this, but being godly, the 10,000 number has to stick because 10,000 is very written and very meaningful in the Bible and throughout. The number 10,000. And so that's why I started with 10,000 families, but we really do want to just help you create whatever that is. Again, if you want to have millions of dollars, we probably will tell you why you don't need that. Um, and a number that does make sense so you can find that financial harmony. But we really
And
just want you to create.
there's
There's
nothing wrong with millions of dollars.
nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong with billions of dollars. It comes down to what do you want and what are you willing to sacrifice to get it.
Exactly. And
So
we just
want to help you.
But there is something wrong to have billions of dollars and not be happy. And if you're not happy, it's evident because you're not giving to others in some way to make this world a better place. And if you're not
Yeah, and
giving back,
that was your Jim Carrey quote. You know, sometimes you get exactly what you want and realize that it was not what you thought it was going to be anyway. So, yeah, we want to know ourselves so we know we're on the right journey.
and we'll end it with that because I do believe this, y'all. Please get everything that you want, whatever this list of amazing things you have. Big house, you Bugatti, this, that, all these cool things that make you whatever is going to make you feel what you think is going to make you feel. Because I promise you, it's not what actually does. The feelings that you need for happiness. But Jim Carrey nailed it. Again, successful guy, super happy, so funny. Probably love every one of his movies. But he said it best. I think everybody should get rich and famous. So get rich, get famous. Start a podcast. Do whatever. Do whatever to get you so out there that you realize it's not that. It's the people who are around you. There's a test already done about this. I've shared this as well, but I'll finish the quote. I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see that it's not the answer. And I'll tell you, I know the answer. He was on a few different podcasts with people. One was Lewis House, but there was a study done of happiness. That's what I'm all about, happiness. Happiness and love are the two emotions that make things change everything. Love is where emotion is where everything, like you said, powerful comes from. Wars all start out of emotion. Divorces, Tony Robbins said this, divorces, motion, all of the most life-changing, most crucial things in our life that we'll ever experience all come from emotion. And if you can be happy, then it's easier for you to have gratitude and share love. And if you can share love, you're feeding the good wolf. And if you're feeding the good wolf, then I don't care how much money you have. You can have billions, but you should be feeding the good wolf. And that's really what we want in the end, is you to know that internally what you're doing and being so aware that you are just overly peaceful inside because you have the balance of life, happiness, and success all into one. That is that's the mission. That's what I want from everybody. So until next time, y'all, thank you for joining us. Coach, as always, thank you. I love doing these with you. It starts on my day right. It gets my day really flowing. I'm sure crazy ideas and more videos will come. But anything to take us out?
Well, if you're curious, if you're on the right path and if you're following the right dream, the right vision, I'll just do one more book recommendation here. John Maxwell has another. It's called Put Your Dream to the Test. It's 10 questions to determine, am I really on the path that is my path? And so that'll kind of help you gain some clarity for your journey.
John Maxwell, amazing books. There's nothing more I could say about that. He's just an amazing leadership trainer and coach. So, all right. Well, until next time, y'all, we are the Robinhood Capitalists. And just remember, keep feeding the good wolf. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Becky Wolf, get ready. 5 voices.
See you Tuesday.
I'm always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an addict for